So, Saratoga, Battle of Saratoga, 1777. Volume 1 in the, what was it, Great Battles of the American Revolution or Battles of the American Revolution? I guess I'll go by the rule book, the series rule book, Great Battles of the American Revolution. I'm zoomed out here. This is actually almost the entire play area, actually. So you're seeing over 90% of the battlefield. So you got Bemis Heights with Arnold's wing in light blue, Gates's wing in dark blue. So Bemis Heights, this is Mill Creek and Branches, Hudson River. This is Wilbur Basin. Here, this is Freeman's Farm, Chatfield Farm. On the British side, up here is Morgan's Rifles and Dearborn Unit, and Arnold and some New Hampshire infantry behind them. They just passed Barber Wheatfield, heading west of Freeman's Farm and the Freeman's Farm clearing. The red units on this side, the north side of the battlefield, heading south. Red are British regulars. Green are the Germans. Germans as labeled in the rules. And the brown ones here are militia and auxiliaries. So in this case, you got a Canadian unit. We've got a Canadian unit, Ottawa Native Americans, and New York Loyalists. So what I'm having the British side do is basically, one column's going to go this way and possibly even get behind Freeman's Farm, south of Freeman's Farm. Burgoyne, and the half of the Germans coming up the center. Then they can go either way depending on how things develop, and then there is a smaller column following the Hudson River, because if anything they should get south of Wilbur Basin, because this is American objective hex here. Okay, what am I thinking? Well, I should say that the game is giving me a lot to think about. The game is, well, first of all, the game is really zoomed out. Really zoomed out. As a matter of fact, I'll say it's so zoomed out that I would ask the question, and I know much more experienced gamers could give a good answer, but it makes me ask the question: is this that much more of a simulation than the was it the Rebels and Redcoats game? I'm assuming Rebels and Redcoats must have Saratoga. I don't remember Saratoga in particular, but I do remember trying to play that game. I remember trying to play that game, so I have an idea of the general design approach of Rebels and Redcoats. But is this, dramatically beyond that? I don't know. I don't know. So this is so zoomed out. And, well, let me take the opposite of what this would be. So I don't think that there is a bar game, Battles from the Age of Reason on Saratoga. I don't remember that. There's Monmouth, right? Brandywine is a Germantown. I don't think there's a Saratoga game in the bar series, but the bar series treatment of Saratoga, I think, would be what I'm looking for. in a gaming experience. So why is that? When I consider the hugely zoomed out scale and scope of this game, you're getting an overall battle, a bird's eye view of the battle, exactly like we see here. No detail really at all with all these units. Yes, rifle units. Yes, Morgan's rifles here behave slightly differently. Well, actually, that's not a good example of Morgan's rifles. That's actually one of the more detailed, I guess, designed units in the game. But let's see. Well, here's the second Chasseurs, German unit as portrayed in the game. It's a light unit. Kind of. So what? I mean, I don't see yet. I don't know, a huge deal for this light unit, second Chasseurs, versus the regular unit that it's with. Von Specht unit. Say morale. Anyways, yeah, not a lot of detail. But of course that's not what it's going for, right? So if I feel like I want to play a bar level, I feel like I might want to play a bar level treatment of Saratoga. And I haven't played bar yet, but I've been looking into it. So from what I've seen of bar, okay, I'm going off of what I've seen of bar so far. But this is so far zoomed out that the idea I have is I'm getting such a bird's eye view of the battle that I ask myself, why wouldn't I just read a good book on Saratoga? And I think the answer is I would just read a game or a good book on Saratoga. Let me put it another way. I find this funny. Let's go with the standard gaming practice, I guess, of having a solitaire suitability scale, right? This game ranks a 7 on solitaire suitability. I kind of find that funny because, I mean, I'm 3 turns into playing here, and I'm telling myself, you know what? I don't think I'm ever going to bring this out to play solitaire. As of right now, I would not play this game solitaire. I don't think it would be interesting enough. Okay. So now I think that I would, I think that I would just enjoy hour after hour. I mean, I figure I could, while away half a day playing Saratoga at the bar scale, I think. I believe that for right now. Yeah, but I don't think I would pull this out and play a solitaire. So it's, why is there a solitaire suitability rating? And by the way, I have plans to play this face-to-face. So that's actually the reason why this one jumped up in my list of, in my gaming queue, because I actually have plans to play this face-to-face. And I'm thinking that it's going to be lots of fun face-to-face. So let me make that clear. I think it's going to be fun face-to-face. I don't think I'll ever bother to play it solitaire. The game is so scaled out, so zoomed out, that I think I would just rather read a good book on Saratoga, Battle of Saratoga. Now, another point that I have to mention is that I do think this would be an excellent game to introduce people to historical hex encounter games. I think that it is visually, and I don't like to, I do not like to emphasize, I don't like to emphasize component quality. I really don't. I don't like to emphasize chit thickness. I don't like to emphasize, color tones on the map. I don't like to emphasize that stuff. If I can play Stalin's tanks, if I can play MBA, main battle area, if I can play, the Just Plain War Games series of games, I'm not overemphasizing, production qualities and visual and all that stuff. However, for bringing in gamers, this is such a visual feast that it does, it is actually a draw. It looks so good that it actually is a draw. I mean, so what do I mean by that? A good way to think about that, I think, is if I knew nothing about these games and I was visiting a con and I walked by a table and there were two players with this between them, this would make me stop, look back, step back to the table, take a closer look. It's that visually enticing. So that's one reason why it would be good to bring in new gamers. I think the second reason is it does have the half a dozen or so pieces of Chrome, which I think would help players kind of understand what is unique and interesting about this about conflict and historical gaming. So that's good. And finally, I think that it would be a good game to bring in new gamers, because so new gamers stroll by the table at a con, they're drawn initially to the visual appeal, and then when they ask about the game and you can explain it, I think that the tactics chits for given whatever type of design issues there may or may not be with this, I think that explaining the army momentum, explaining I guess that the tactics chits, the army morale, momentum chits. I think that you're explaining game mechanics that should be interesting enough to bring in new wargamers. Yeah, definitely. I think I've said what I wanted to say. It's definitely what I had on my mind a lot since I played last. This did come out because this should see a face-to-face game soon on my table, and that's good. Yeah. So up here on the corner, the southeast corner of the map, or the top of the map, top right of the map, on our game turn record track, we have finished turn 3, so we're moving to turn 4, and this is the first game turn where we're going to determine randomly. I guess it's random determination of the initiative player. So each side is going to roll a die modified by their army morale. Now, army morale both armies are still at high morale. There's no change there. So here's the morale track here. Both are still at their starting points now. So both sides are adding 1 to the initiative, so it's going to even out. But this reminds me that I need to review real quickly what things adjust the morale track. Make sure I didn't miss some events in the first 3 turns. Each side rolled a die. Each side, of course, has a +1, so the British have 1 + 1 for 2, Americans 8 + 1 for 9. So the Americans will be the initiative player, but I did note that, I will note that the momentum chits can be used to modify this Army Morale die roll modifier. Besides the Army Morale DRM, the initiative die roll can be modified by use of a momentum chit. So remember, it hasn't changed so far in the game, but the British still have 1 momentum chit. Okay, so players can spend momentum chits to get a DRM for their initiative roll, but I thought that, I don't think a side is typically going to get more than like 3 or 4 momentum chits, and so I was thinking if it's just +1 on a 10-sided die, I didn't think that was very significant. So that's not right. So you can spend the momentum chit before the roll. The British aren't going to do it, but if they did, they get a +2 per momentum chit to modify their initiative die roll. So that makes more sense for why that could be significant. Okay, now I'm seeing that these momentum chits have quite a lot of uses. So this is not a situation where the momentum chits are a simple 1 or 2 mechanic device. No. So in addition to playing 1 or more before the die roll for a +2 DRM per momentum chit before your dice roll. So if the British had 3 momentum chits, the British player could spend all 3 before the roll to get a +6, which actually would almost get them to... Anyways, in addition, you can also spend after the die roll. So here the British have rolled a 1, a very lousy 1, Americans 8, modified to 2 to 9. British are way short. A player may spend, if a player has 3 momentum chits, you can spend 3 momentum chits after the roll to completely negate this die roll and simply dictate which player has the initiative. So again, with this roll, if the British player had 3 momentum chits, after seeing this huge disparity in die rolls, if the British player decided, I've got to have the initiative, the British player could spend 3 momentum chits and simply say, okay, die roll's negated, I've got the initiative, or American player has the initiative, depending on what I guess the player wants. So another use for the momentum chits. So interesting design choice. The map has what so far up here, the turn track, what so far is proving to be a very user-friendly turn track is nice. A user-friendly Army morale track is nice. It has captured unit and eliminated unit boxes on the map. It has a nice, very legible terrain key, all very nice. And then it has the fog table up here, printed on the map, which at first I thought, oh, how nice. Actually, the fog table, first of all, it's optional. Second of all, it only influences the first 2 turns of the game. Afterwards, it's not used thereafter. Now I'm thinking that instead of something like that printed on the map, probably should have had the Army morale adjustment table instead printed on the map, because this is what I would think that I'm going to be consulting over and over again, and could consult at any time in the game, and could be very important that I consult it and use it at the right time throughout the game. So this would seem to be more apt to be on the map. Now, it's possible that there's a design consideration that I'm not thinking of. Maybe the Army morale adjustment table differs enough game to game. No, that wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think that's an issue either. So yeah, I would think that this would be a better table to choose to use some of the margin area. Okay. Well, so these are the Army morale adjustment events. I need to not forget about adjusting Army morale. Army morale may need to be adjusted each time one of the following occurs. And then it says it has 4 cases listed here, but it also says see Army morale adjustment chart. And that's it. So this should be what do you say, comprehensive here. So again, event, a rally. Okay, I haven't had any rallies yet. D, suffer a D result, an AM result. Okay, inflicting losses, taking losses, inflicting losses, taking losses, capturing a unit, having a unit captured, removing a pin during the movement phase, leader casualty. Okay, I definitely didn't miss any of those. So the Americans are going to be the initiative player. Starting with the movement phase, I should point out again, I mean, the Americans are still under pretty strict movement restriction here. They're basically locked inside the Bemis Heights defensive line. I can adjust behind the line. For this first game, I'm not going to do that, but I can definitely see how in future playing, I would seriously consider adjusting lines back here. However, the American artillery still can't move. So minus the artillery, some adjustment of the defense could be made back here. Again, within the Bemis Heights defensive line. Yeah, so I'm going to be looking at Morgan and Arnold. Okay, so real quick tactical consideration here. I'm really looking at this Morgan and Dearborn together. So I'm going to keep them together for the advantages that they get for staying together. So it's Morgan's force. And here's Arnold with those regular American units. I mean, do they go after the artillery unit and try to eliminate it before British reinforcements get up here? My quick thinking is not actually worth it. First of all, Morgan's rifles get that DRM the first time they shoot in the game. So when it comes to Morgan's rifles specifically, I'm going to wait for a better target. Second, I come out here in the clearing. If I eliminate the reserve artillery there, and then the British arrive, and I'm out in the open, it just seems better, again, quick thinking, that I establish a defensive line maybe right here, and try to wait and go after one of the British columns coming up or coming south. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to spread out the American line here. Morgan has a gold star on the top center of the counter to remind you that Morgan has some leader-like capabilities, which is nice. By the way, I just noticed the compass rose on the northwest side of the map. So that's nice. I hadn't noticed it before because it blends in very well with the wooded background pattern. The reason why I'm mentioning that is because I just now noticed clearly that like here, right here, underneath the very, here's some more. So now I'm noticing that underneath the modeled forest graphics are some rises, slopes. I'd already noticed the ones, that are outside the forest, but there are some that are completely covered with forest, and so actually something to pay attention to. Yeah. So I'm moved on to the British turn. British are moving. I mentioned these road these, so to speak, road jams before, and this is what I'm zooming in on here again. So the this stack, the 20th Infantry, strength of 4 on the track here. The Fighting 9th behind it is also 4 strength. So the hard and fast stacking limit at all times means to me that basically on this track, the Fighting 9th can never pass the 20th at all. The Fighting 9th could pass the artillery unit at 2 strength if the artillery unit were the only unit in this hex, obviously, because that would still be 6 as the Fighting 9th passed through it. But as I understand it, the Fighting 9th can never pass the 20th. The 62nd cannot pass the Fighting 9th. So that's what I mean. Now, you could shuffle units otherwise, but I think I'm just going to keep the force packages as I have them and just deal with basically the no passing. Okay, just so for what it's worth, the track here that Burgoyne and his units are following here is crossing going down slope and crossing a bridge to this hex. And I was wondering, does the track negate everything? And the track negates hex terrain and hex side terrain. You ignore it. So actually, yeah, these are literally ignored. Now, our turns, that makes perfect sense. But there's no further effect. So they're still following the track. They're using strategic movement. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So having said what I just said, I should point out this is the smaller column following the Hudson River Road. The bridge here is not intact. So road movement and strategic movement not possible here. So I'll basically just hold up the column there. But yeah, here and at another point farther south, clearly, I mean, it's nice because the graphic shows it. The bridge is not intact, and per the exclusive rules, it is not a bridge hex side, and well, for that matter, the coastal road does not go from hex 2019 to 2119. Okay, so British turn. This is the bottom of the 4th turn. Defensive artillery fire phase. Well, okay, back up. Just finished the British movement phase. There's nothing to do in the rally phase. Defensive artillery fire phase. No British artillery can see any targets, I believe. Yeah, I believe. So we go to rifle fire phase. Both players may conduct rifle fire with the rifle units. Fire is considered simultaneous. So I believe we're going to have the first fire of the battle, which is going to be Morgan's rifles here. Should be able to see across. I should double check this actually. Should be able to see across the clearing here. Actually, I guess those are crops. All right, so I'll double check that Morgan's rifles can see across or through the crops here to the wood line here with the British there. Okay. Yeah, disregard all of that. One, my mind, having come from some lower tactical Napoleonics gaming recently, I think my mind is at a way too low level. These are 200 yard hexes or meter hexes, 200 yard hexes. So I was thinking Morgan's rifles were firing at more than adjacent hexes. No, it clearly says in the fire procedure you are cross-referencing strength points firing, but you're only using the adjacent column. So which makes sense because I was, it's funny, earlier I was trying to compute in this day and age, would units really be able to engage units 800 yards away with rifle fire, even with these to hit numbers? No. Okay. So I guess we have first visual contact, but not fire. And before I leave this view, so in the rules, I don't think crops block line of sight according to the series rules, and then a quick scan of the exclusive rules. I didn't see anything about terrain and loss exceptions. So I think Morgan is looking at the British Rangers and regulars across the clearing there. So it's turn 5, it's noon, and the British have won the initiative segment. So they're going to move and see if we can get some defensive artillery fire. Well, probably not. Yeah, we'll see what we can get going this turn. Just a note in passing, since I'm doing British movement and continuing to use the train effects chart, there at the bottom of the chart, it is nice to see this. All units pay an extra movement point to enter or exit a rifle unit's ZOC. So this seems interesting, at least. I want to get these British regulars up here through the woods to attack Arnold and his American regulars. But there seems to be, because of the tactics chit mechanic, it seems like there's a strong incentive to wait for Fraser to get up. And I think Fraser at least has to be adjacent to have the leader influence on battle at this scale and scope. But Fraser's already moved. He's not moving any closer than that. So it seems like the British might be losing a whole nother turn, a whole nother hour to get into the fight, or forego the leader influence and get in there. So I don't know. Just looking at that stuff, or maybe the British regulars with the Rangers. No, that really wouldn't. I don't think that would help either. So I have to consider this a little more. So in this first playthrough, I feel the terrain funneling the British this way. Because basically from a line here, basically from the middle branch all the way east to the coast road there, not coast road, the river road, all this is pretty dense terrain, ravines, some high ground in here. Yeah. Yeah, high ground here, here, and here, with these ravines. Let's see, is this ravine? I think this is ravine. I think this is ravine. This is ravine. This is ravine. Or no, I don't think that's ravine. But this is ravine here, and I guess here. Okay, up to the British close combat phase. I changed my mind here. I think that because of what's going on, because this is essentially first contact here, going against Arnold, going against his leadership abilities, but I don't think the tactics chits are gonna. I don't think they're gonna play too much, but we'll see. Close combat phase. So this is the one attack here. I can do multiple attacking hexes against one defending hex. And the phasing play, the British player must attack with all units that are adjacent to enemy units. And there are a couple of exceptions. And all adjacent enemy units must be attacked. Okay, so that's the one adjacent stack. It's being attacked by two, with all the British units that are adjacent to an enemy unit. So it's Arnold, again, the American regulars against the British regulars and Rangers. Yeah. Okay. So designated the attack. Remove pin markers. There are none. Conduct all designated close combat. So we're going to go through the close combat sequence. We're going to determine odds ratio. And then determine lead units. And then determine DRMs. And then we'll get to the tactics chits. Okay, it looks to me like it's 10 strength point, 10 British strength points to 3 American strength points for 3 to 1 is the odds ratio. Determine lead units. Well, there is only the 1st New Hampshire on the American side, and I'm going to go ahead and choose the Earl of Balcarres. Regular British. No, never mind. That is a light unit. I'm going to actually change that. I'm going to make the 24th over here the lead unit for the British. So the 24th regulars over here. Lead unit. So it's lead units, 24th British regulars against the 1st New Hampshire American regulars. Okay, now look at DRMs. Okay, starting the list, the attackers +1 morale is going to be canceled by the Americans +1 morale. Close combat DRM of the defending commanding leader. So that is a 2. It's the first number, so 2. So Arnold's close combat DRM of 2 is subtracted. So now the British are down 2. British are down 2. No rifle units are involved. No units are disrupted or shattered. Mounted dragoons, no. Militia, no militia. Not surrounded. Ammo depletion, no. Not attacking across a creek hexside. All units are attacking a fieldworks, no. Upslope, no. Cross ravine hexside, no. So interestingly, Forest. Forest has a -1 modifier for fire, but not for combat. I actually like that. I can go for that. All right, so it looks like it's -2 for Arnold's leadership. Then we go to the tactics chits. So each side has chosen a tactics chit, and then we resolve them. So the British are going to skirmish. Remember, with no leader involved, they can only choose skirmish, attack in echelon, stand fast, or withdraw. Now the Americans chose commit reserve because they have Arnold present. So having Arnold present adds the options for frontal assault or commit reserve. I debated for the American side Arnold choosing to withdraw, being the very start of the battle here, or commit reserve. So I went with commit reserve. On the tactics matrix, the attackers skirmish, cross index with the defenders. Commit reserve is a +1. These tactic chits, I'm not getting them right away. So, okay, that wasn't good, strangely enough. Unless I'm just really misunderstanding something. But anyways, it says +1. So I guess the British -2 penalty is now just a -1. All right. All right, well, we had a very dramatic result. The British rolled a 0. -1 is -1. -1 on the 3-to-1 column is a d/dash, and it is a square, so the defender gains momentum. So right away, I guess the grab a momentum chit for the Americans. Put that to the side with the American markers, and D. So I'll relook the D result for the attacker here. Okay, so the lead unit retreated 3 hexes and is disrupted. The other 2 units, yeah, they're in the close combat. They roll a morale check. The Earl of Balcarres failed a morale check and retreated 1 hex, and the British Rangers passed their morale check, so they stay fast. All right, now I'm sure I got to look at Army morale adjustment. Okay, so it looks like suffering this D result is a -1 to the British Army morale. So I adjusted that on the track. So now the British Army morale level's now at 13, 1 less than the Army morale at 14.